So yesterday we have discussed about the terms of payment, right? Then today we'll discuss about the methods of payment. Methods of payment and cash discounts. So methods of payment, it means like, so there are multiple ways to to honor the any vendor payments or to receive the customer payments, right? But if you want to receive in multiple ways, but you have to configure that. Let's say if you're dealing, if you're doing transactions like for cash on delivery, let's say, then you have to configure cash on delivery. That means you will be accepting the payments or you'll be doing the payments only in the cash on delivery. For such vendors or customers, you'll have to while creating the invoice journal, you have to update it as a COD. And there are multiple ways to collect the amount, right? Like check, you can either receive or do the payments via check, or else there is an electronic fund transfer is there. And then for example, if you want to do any other like direct debit is there, and then DD. So there are multiple ways. So in order to configure such methods of payment, we'll have to navigate to accounts payable. Let me just show you accounts payable is there. And then under payment setup, click on methods of payment. See, these are a few such methods of payment which are already configured in USMF. Anyway, all these are most commonly used. So we need not to create a new, a method of payment, or else we can just, discuss on the same examples itself. Let's say this bridging account. This we'll discuss it later. That is related to PDC account. So this check payment is like most commonly used payment system, right? Payment method. Let's say, for example, if you want to create, assume that it is not there, we'll try to create a new one here. The same check. And here, if you see, no payment, we are updating as a demo check. And then the next field is period. So if you click on this drop down, there are various fields like invoice, date, week, total. So let's say if you want to, while generating the invoice, if you want to apply this method of payment at the time on the invoice, or else at the time of doing the payment, or during the week, or total. So anyways, these fields will see how, when generating the new invoice general, what is the importance of this field. And then the description, as I mentioned, will give the same demo check. And then the grace period, if you want to give any grace period, then you can give it. Like for example, the moment you receive an invoice, right, you can give some grace period, or after due date, like 5 days or 10 days, anything. But in most of the scenarios, this grace period is not given. If you see it, there is a grace disclaimer showing that enter the number of days that are added in the cash discount date, so or the due date to define the broadcast period. So once we for example, if you're giving any cash discount, let's say you're doing some transactions with the cash with any of the vendor, and you have entered an agreement stating that if you do the payment, let's say 10 days or 15 days before, on the due date, before due date, then you are eligible for discount. And at the same time, you will be offering the same such discounts to customers as well. So whenever they do not advance payment, early payment, like before due date, then you would be giving some discounts, right? So it's like that. To calculate such grace period, we'll be giving it as a the number, the number of days you want, you can update here. And the payment status. See, by default, you should not give any sent, received, approved, or rejected. Let it be the none itself, so that whenever you create a new invoice journal, right? Let's say you are issuing a check. So once you issue a check, right, what is the status that we are supposed to update? Sent. And whenever you receive a check from the customer, then you will update the status as a received. And once check issued or once check is received from a vendor or a customer, right? Again, there will be two options. I mean, there are it is going to happen either it may get approved or it may get rejected. So for various reasons. So once the check has been reached to this stage, like approved or rejected, you can update the status. And the payment type. So payment type, anyways, see, for the demo check, see, already we have given the description as a check, so you'll have to check the select the option as a check. So the payment type I'm selecting as a check. Allow copies of payments. See, copies is nothing. Anyway, this is disabled, I guess. It is not. Let's see what is the option here. Okay, so it is about the printing of the check copies. Maybe we'll have to check with the print management. Anyways, that is not required. If in case if this is enabled, we could have checked that option. This is disabled now. And this general, anyways, this last file number, it is not required. If in case if you see, file number is nothing but a reference number. Let's say, for example, if you are if you are storing all these checks in a file, or see, nowadays no, we are not using any physical files, right? We'll be having the folders or files in our system, so you can update that one. Anyways, that is not required for this check. And then today, even this is also not required. All these fields are not required, and this is important. See, whenever you are receiving the check or you are collecting the check, right, you have to give one posting account. What is a posting account? Here we'll select, we have multiple types, like one is ledger, customer, vendor, or anything. If you want to specific, like if you want to specify any particular account, you can give that particular account. If you see here, for the timing, we'll select it as a bank. See, later, if you want to, instead of, if you want to use ledger account, you can even still the ledger account as well. So we have a ledger also, right? You can select ledger. We have created some SBI and ICICI in ledger, right, instead of bank accounts. If you want, you can select that as well. And this bridge posting, this is all, these fields are related to post dated checks. Type of drop, these also not related to check related. Direct debit, these also not related. So this is one example. Let's say if you want to create any check, let us see what is the uh, posting account type they have given for the check which is already created. Yes, if you see here, they have updated as a bank itself. And there's one more way to create the method of payment is electronic. So electronic is nothing but, for example, you are not, see, you'll be doing the payments to the vendors, or you'll be receiving the payments from the customers directly to your bank account. So you will not have any like intimation. Sometimes, like whenever there is a due, right, you will be doing the payments directly to the vendors. So you will not have any check number, or unlike check, or if you are receiving in a cash, you'll be having the proof. But electronic, it is not like that. The proof whatever you carry is that you will be receiving from the bank. So even the same I mean, the same logic applies here as well. You will be updating as a method of payment electronic, and the period, when do you want to use this electronic, whether during at the time of invoice, or a date, or week total. And the description we updated as a electronic payment. And the payment status, same, like even sometimes during electronic payment transfers also, it might happen, right? Rejected due to insufficient funds, or it may go on hold. So that's the reason, for the timing we can give it as a none. And then while doing the payment, or while doing the posting the payment general, you can update the status. The payment type, you will have to select it as an electronic payment, since we are doing an electronic payments, right? Yeah. And the same logic, like see, for the timing, they have updated as a last file number. Anyways, it is not required. If you want, you can give this one. Yeah. And this is not editable, because it is, they have created an USMF, right? So whatever the date, what is it? What does it says? The date of the last count of the file number. This is not editable, because we, in our legal entity, we can give the date whatever you want, but that is not mandatory. This is most important. As I mentioned, you can select either bank account or ledger account. Yeah, and there are few fields. Let's say the bank transaction type. See, bank transactions are multiple types, right? You will be receiving the payments, you will be doing the payments, you will be, sending the check or anything type. So if you want to configure, let's say, uh, And that too, there are different types of transactions, right? Charges will be there. You'll be collecting and you'll be charged with any interest fees or anything. If you want to select any such particularly, you can select the list here. Or else, what you can do is you can create bank transaction types. If you see here in the drop down, there are a lot of such transactions are there. Deposit, electronic, payment, printed. See, for this electronic, they have selected the transaction type as a 12. What is a 12 here? Payments electronic. Since you're doing electronic payments, right? So you'll have to select the transaction type as electronic payment. But you can customize or as per your business that you're doing, right? You can bank transaction types can be created here. These are created by the USMF. As per, for example, interest charges is here. That is most commonly used transaction, right? Whenever you receive an interest from the bank or you'll be charged with the interest. So anything can happen. So again, anyways, this configuration of bank transaction types, all these things we'll discuss in cash and bank management. For the timing, you can understand there are multiple bank transaction types are there. You can select whichever you want. And the file format, uh, since you are sending, see, electronic fund payment will be done through format only, right? Because every bank or every country or they'll be having their own way of doing the transactions while accepting the electronic funds whenever they receive, right? So if you remember, we have an multiple formats like XML, Excel, Word, Notepad. There are multiple. Apart from these, there are a lot of such formats are there, depending on the central bank rules and regulations of that particular country. So if you have any specific such format related information, you can update here. Let's say for this electronic, they have updated as a nacha us. It's a format name, and you will have to configure all these things. See, for check, there is a separate format. See, and one more thing, see, check is not. For example, if you remember, we have a check leaf. If you remember on the check leaf, we our Indian banks will have all the details, right? Like account number, and then the account holder number and the signature. The same format may not be same in other countries as well. So it might be different. So for that reason, you will have to create the format here. And even this generic electronic export format, if there these fields are depending on the format of the file that you're getting from the bank. So once you get, for example, the client which I'm dealing, right? So they have a bank in Bank of Ireland. Also, they have a bank from Bank of some other country, the foreign country. So two different banks have different formats. So they cannot give this as same electronic method of payment as a for both the banks. So for that purpose, again they will be creating a separate method of payment. There are few such formats like BACS is there. So that you will get to know once you get into any of the project. So these fields are related to formats. And the payment control. See, payment control, for example, let me just maximize this one. Yeah. So whenever assume that you have disabled this. For example, whenever you click on the new, right? Okay, we'll go back to the same which is not there. Demo check it is here. Yeah. So if you see here, see, for check payment, the file format, all these things are not required. This file format is not required since we do not have any file format. And this payment control, if you see, whenever you do the transaction by using the check, right? What are the most important controls that you are supposed to give? The bank transaction type or check number. If check number is mandatory, right? So we'll have to enable this as a yes. And what is one more offset account? Obviously, you should know from which bank account you are using the check. So for that purpose, you will make this offset account as the type of the bank as a mandatory. Yeah, and bank transaction type. Obviously, you should know for which what kind of transaction you using this check. Are you going to use the check for deposit or are you receiving an amount from the customer? So for that purpose, the bank transaction type. So here we have selected, right, bank transaction type. So whenever you enable this option, right, that will make it mandatory while posting the transactions using the check. It will ask you to select the deposit or electronic payment, electronic printed payments, and accept. So these three are mandatory. So again, these things depending on the method of payment, you'll have to select. Let's say what are the options that they have selected for electronic. If you see the electronic, there's a difference here. They have selected only bank transaction type, offset account, because here check number is not applicable for electronic, right? And even payment specification, payment ID, these things are not mandatory, because any which ways you will be receiving and all the details once the payment is done via bank. And we'll see what is a for payroll check they have given here. They haven't given anything, because for payroll related, maybe if you want, you can give the bank transaction type and the offset account. These two are these two are common, right, for any bank transaction. If you want, you can give, or else you can disable. PDC. PDC, let's say for example, you're doing transactions. We'll be discussing this PDC in cash and bank management. But anyways, it is there. So I'll just give an overview as well. So post-dated check is nothing but whenever you do transaction, or whenever let's say you're doing a transaction with the customer for the worth of some 1,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, and you will be receiving an post-dated check. That is nothing but you have already supplied the goods to the customer, and then you have even sent the invoice as well. But instead of customer doing payment at the immediately, he's issuing an post-dated check, let's say after 1 month or 2 months. So for that purpose, uh, you, though he has given you a check, but it is not a normal check. It is a post-dated check. So whenever you receive the normal check, right, on the same day, or when payment is whenever you receive the payment via check, then you'll have to use this check. But since it is a post-dated, you will have to categorize it into a separate category. Then only you will identify what all transactions happened through post-dated check. So for that purpose, you will have to enable the payment controls as well. So if you see, obviously the check number is mandatory. So we'll enable this as a check number. And even a bank transaction type and offset also, you can make it as a mandatory. That's not a problem. So this payment reference, all these things are not mandatory. And the payment attributes also, even these are not mandatory. So like if you want, you can use see these payment attributes. We'll see, like once we use any cash and bank module, there again we'll discuss all these fields whichever it is important here. So for the timing, you understood it. What is the method of payment and how to use this one. So if you post few transactions, then it will be easy for you to understand. And also, whenever you create a new vendor, right? So whenever you create a new vendor, right? Even there also, if you remember the fields which are there, it will ask you the method of payment for any specific vendor. Let's say you are creating a new vendor. Let's see, any some telecom companies or anything will give. So will give any other company vendor account will give. A unique number, right? We'll give it as a okay. And these fields are not mandatory. Even address and contact information, if you have, you can give. But we'll see for the payment methods. Yes, can you see here? For this particular vendor, if you want to give the terms of payment, which we have already configured, let's say you are giving it as a month plus 15 days. That means whenever you receive an invoice from this Britannia vendor, the due date of that particular invoice will be by default it will calculate for month plus 15 days. And the method of payment will give it as a demo check or anything. Or let's say you're giving it as a normal check. Payment specifications still we haven't discussed, that we'll see. And payment schedule, if you want, you can give cash discount. In some time, we'll be discussing about that as well. If you have any bank account, you can give it. Now we'll try to post any transaction. And one more thing I would like to highlight. So whenever you see any such fields, right? Uh, Whatever I have explained, see those are used most commonly used fields and mandatory fields which are required to do transactions. Apart from that, there are a lot of such fields will be there, which are, for example, as I mentioned in file format itself, there are a lot of fields. So you need not to think too much about all these things. So if you try to understand what is important here later, depending on the requirement, you can explore what is the purpose of other fields as well. Because even what the few fields, unless you do the transaction or unless you come across such situation, you will not understand. So that's the reason, whatever that is important or which is required to do transaction, such fields you can focus on. That is applicable to any feature in Dynamics. For example, wherever you go, even in vendors also, if you see, there are a lot of fields are there. So it is not necessary to think, what is a payment day, or see this is important if it, but this is not mandatory. And what is a central bank purpose code. See, if you are I mean, you can easily understand. If you see here, supplementary item group, even I do not, because this is something related to supply chain management. So you need not to worry about all these things. If you have information, you can update it here. It's like that. So we'll try to create a new transaction here, that is in accounts payable. I'll show you how does the method of payment will appear. We'll go
శ్రీనివాస్,
to the
ఇప్పుడు ఈ డేటా అంతా ఫిల్ చేసేది మనం కాదు కదా?
నీకు అది అది మళ్ళీ ఎక్స్‌ప్లెయిన్ చేస్తా. ఇది జస్ట్ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్స్ ఏమి అనేది ఒకటే
అహా!
ఫోకస్ చేయాలి.
నార్మల్లీ మనం వెండర్ దాంట్లో ఇప్పుడు మనం చూసింది, ఆ డేటా అంతా ఇప్పుడు పిఓ ఉంది. పిఓ టీమ్ చేస్తది. వెండర్ మాస్టర్ టీమ్ చేస్తది. సో, మనము దాంట్లో డేటా ఫిల్లింగ్ అయితే ఏం జేయము. జస్ట్ ఏమన్నా ఇష్యూస్ వస్తే అది ఎక్కడ లింకప్ చేయాలనేది చూస్తాం కదా మనం దీంట్లో గూడా.
ఇప్పుడు మెయిన్ పర్పస్ అది కాదు. మన రోల్ ఏంటి అనేది మనం క్లారిటీగా ఉండాలి అంతే. అది వర్క్ ఏదైనా ఉండొచ్చు. నువ్వు ఫిల్ చేయమంటే ఫిల్ చేయాలి. లేదంటే ఒకవేళ చేయకూడదంటే అది వేరు. బట్ ఏ
హ్మ్.
ఫీల్డ్‌లో ఎప్పుడు యూజ్ చేయాలని తెలియాలి మనకంతే.
ఓకే. ఫైన్.
So there are situations where they might ask you to fill the data as well. So you cannot deny that, right? So at times it happens. See, for the most important thing is you should know what is your role, and what are the fields that you are supposed to fill. That's the reason, as I mentioned, few fields are not related to us. That will be taken care by the supply chain management team. But at the same time, few things are linked, right? So you should also know what is the meaning of that one. Not in depth, at least you should know where is, because let's say client has asked one query. You should be able to tell them whether that falls under finance and operations or supply chain management. So that's the reason, you should have an overview about all the fields, or else they might expect you to do everything. So let's say, for example, if you want to create a new vendor payment, but in most of the meetings, right, in most of the projects, supply chain management team and finance and operations team, both they will be joining the meeting. Because let's say, whenever the customer is discussing about purchase order, you will be see we as a finance and operations team, we know how does it impacts the journal entries as well. But supply chain management team, they don't know, right? So but you need some information about some warehouse or any site related anything, then they will come into picture. It's like that. Sorry, not doing the payment, we'll have to create the invoice journal first. So we'll select the Britannia here. Let's see any other expenses. Let's say we are receiving in some finished goods related or any products from from Britannia. Now, if you see it, the method of payment by default it is applicable, which is month and month plus 15, which we have updated in the while creating the vendor itself. And if you see the payment schedule, it is there. Cash discount, yes, we have. We'll be discussing that. And yes, where is it showing as a method of payment? General. Yes, can you see a method of payment? See, there are few fields which you will not be able to see in the header column itself. So for that purpose, see wherever if you see here, the method of payment it is not showing here. So immediately we'll have to go for the invoice field. Yeah, under the invoice, if you see the method of payment by default it is showing as a check, because we have created the method of payment, and then for all vendors, while creating the Britannia, we have updated the method of payment as a check. But later if you want, you can change it, because this is an editable field. Let's say if you want to do payment through electronic payment, you can make it as electronic here. If you have any payment ID or payment transfer number or anything, you can specify that. And the due date, so as per the terms of, yeah, as per the terms of payment, that is month plus 15, right? So what is a month plus 15? That is, invoice date is 8th. So that's the reason due date. What is whatever the terms that you have given while configuring this one, based on the due date will be calculated. See here, due date. And if you want to specify date, that is exactly invoice payment release date, you can update the date here. If you see here that there's a disclaimer here, the release date. Yeah, at times whenever sometimes it happens, right, you will be keeping the invoices on hold for some reason. You can see these are again the internal transactions for various reasons. If you want to keep this invoice on hold, you can update, and whenever you release the date and the release date document comment or anything, these are not mandatory. If you want, you can give this one. And this approved, we have already discussed. If there are any if there is any hierarchy to be approved for any invoices, then you can update this one. So this cash discount we'll just discuss in some time. And the fixed assets remittance, if these are not mandatory. History, already these fields we have discussed. Okay. And one more thing, example, yesterday I forgot to inform, that is there are few fields, right? We have discussed about the functions as well. If you want, you can save this voucher and you can retrieve this voucher if it is a recurring transaction. This period journal also will it does the same job. So inquiries, under these inquiries, there are few options, that is balance control, sales tax controls, budget check errors. These two we'll see later. And the balance control is nothing but, let's say, uh, wait, let me, okay. So let's say instead of ledger, we'll select any. Okay, assume that whatever these what is the expense we have selected here, finished goods, right? So the moment you receive an invoice, or daily you will be receiving multiple invoices, right? If you want to know the balance, how much balance is available in your bank account, how do you check? You need not to go to any open the bank transactions to check, or to bank statement to check the balance. For that purpose, you can keep such most commonly used main account as a balance control accounts. So balance control. Let's say, for example, you are clicking on validate. Let's say you have entered all the details and you have validated. Once you're ready to post, before posting, if you want to know what is the balance, then under inquiries, click on balance control. See, these are the balance control accounts I have updated. I want to know how much balance is available in this euro. I mean, these three banks. So that's the reason I have updated here. Even the rent expense I have updated. So like this, there are multiple balance control accounts. You can keep it as a shortcut. So if you want, I can just show that as well. How to create a balance control accounts. That anyways we'll be discussing in general ledger, but we have come across this one under general ledger, under chart of accounts, again under accounts, there's a balance control accounts here. See, I have updated as a rent expense. If you want, you can give any other account as such. For example, there's a there are a lot of such main accounts are there. We have given inventory, right? Finished goods inventory. I'll click on save. Okay. Now let's say you are receiving on daily basis hundreds of invoices from multiple vendors, right? So like not only Britannia, even a few other vendors. So whenever you post any such transaction, right? So before posting, you can check. Let me validate and see the balance control. Can you see it? If you want to see the balance of this particular finished goods, you can directly click on the balance control. So you will get an basic understanding. Yes. So today we are receiving a 25,000 worth goods, and you can plan your inventory, or you can plan your payments or anything as such. Yeah. So this is about the methods of payment, how to select or how to edit the methods of payment. So based on the requirement, see these are most commonly used like check, bridging. Bridging is also, as I mentioned, that is an whenever you receive a PDC, right? So these scenarios we'll discuss it later. So most commonly used is check and cash and the electronic. Even in electronic also you'll have to update the file numbers, everything. That as per the banks you can update that. So here you can update. Yeah. So do you have any doubts here, like how to create the terms of payment? If you are clear with this, then we'll go for the cash discounts. Can you see the journal entry here? We have received the goods. That's the reason there is an increase in the asset, right? Whenever there is an increase in the asset, it will be debited as per the real account rule, and then it will be transferred to the summary account, that is accounts payable. Are you clear with this terms of payment and the methods of payment? Hello,
Uh, yes, Srinivas.
Sankarshan?
Bro.
Okay, now we'll discuss about the cash discounts here. As I mentioned, cash discount is nothing but you will be receiving a discount if you have entered an agreement with the vendor or customer that you will be offering or receiving a discount on for various reasons. Let's say if you want to do an early payment, or if you're receiving an early payment from the customer, you are eligible, right? So you have to configure such discounts here. Uh, so these discounts will help you to under, if you configure these cash discounts, let's say like you will be having in different percentages, right, for various vendors, based on the invoice amount and based on the invoice date. So based on various factors, these cash discounts will be configured. Let's say these cash discounts, if you want to configure for uh, 5% of 10 days. So what do you mean by 5% of 10 days? Let's say invoice date is today and the due date is 31st July. If you apply this cash discount, then the payment whatever you do, that is 10 days before, right, you are eligible for 5% discount. And what is the next best discount that you are have entered an agreement? Let's say that is for 2% of 5 days. So if you're doing the payment that is 5 days before due date, then you are eligible for 2 days 2% discount. The same logic is applicable for customers as well. You can offer this kind of discounts to your customers if they are doing payment or if they are expecting some discounts. So let's see how to configure these cash discounts and how to apply in invoice journal as well. So the navigation would be accounts payable under payment setup, cash discounts. Click on that one. See, there are a lot of such discounts which are already created. So forget all these things. Okay, one more thing I wanted to highlight here. We'll have to, again, under cash discounts, there are two types. One is the vendors and customers, right? Can someone tell me what is the financial impact of these two scenarios? Let's say you are receiving a cash discount from the vendor for any reason it may be. How does it impacts your books of accounts? Since you are supposed to pay 100 rupees, but you are paying only 95 rupees. What is the impact of this one?
Money
Impact in the
expenditure
sense I wanted to
తగ్గుతుంది.
know.
It's an income. It's an
It's an
asset.
income, correct. And what about the customers? You are giving a discount to the customers. What is the impact here?
Expense.
It is not an expense, it is a loss. Income and loss. You are not spending on anything, you are giving it as a loss, right? So for that purpose, since there is a financial, see, whenever, see, for example, in the terms of payment, method of payment, in all these scenarios, there is no such financial impact here. But here, when it comes to cash discount, it is applicable, it is impacting our books as well. Whenever there is an impact of the books, obviously you'll there is a journal entry will be posted, right? So what is the journal entry that is being posted for vendor cash discount received? Since you have just confirmed that the cash discount received is an income, so as per the nominal rule, what does the nominal rule says?
Income and profit should be debited.
debit all expenses and gains,
Expenses.
losses, credit all
Incomes
Income.
and
and gains. Simple, right? The same logic will have to apply for the same thing. As per here, the vendor's cash discount received, since it is an income for us, as per this, we'll have to credit cash discount. We'll have to credit, right? Then what about the debit? Obviously, for every journal entry, there should be a corresponding debit also. What is the debit that you're supposed to give? Can someone tell me what is the
మళ్ళీ
tell me?
క్వశ్చన్ రిపీట్ చేయవా ప్లీజ్?
ఇప్పుడు క్యాష్ డిస్కౌంట్ ఉందా? క్యాష్ డిస్కౌంట్ నువ్వు వెండర్ నుంచి రిసీవ్ చేసుకుంటున్నావు.
ఓకే.
అంటే నీకు అది ఇన్కమ్మా లేకపోతే ఏంది?
నాకు వస్తుంది కాబట్టి నా ఇన్కమ్ అవుతుంది అది.
నువ్వు తగ్గించి పే చేస్తున్నావు కదా?
అది నాకు నాకు బెనిఫిట్ వస్తుంది కదా, సో నా ఇన్కమే కదా
అవును.
అది.
ఇన్కమే. మరి దానికి ఇప్పుడు ఇన్కమ్ కాబట్టి దాన్ని క్రెడిట్ చేస్తావు. మరి డెబిట్ దేన్ని చేస్తావు?
Vendor account.
Obviously, because you are reducing the balance from the accounts payable, right? So whenever there is an reduce in the balance in the accounts payable, you will be debiting that one. Accounts payable. Let's say the invoice amount is 1,000 rupees and you are eligible for discount of 10% cash discount. Now tell me, how do I post this as a journal entry? What is the invoice amount? Invoice amount is nothing but the accounts payable balance, right? So let it be 1,000 rupees. And what is the cash discount that you are receiving? 10% of this 1,000.
100.
100 rupees. Okay. And where is the rest of the amount? You have paid to the either through bank or cash, anything. Whenever you're doing the payment, what are we supposed to do? We'll have to credit that one, right? So
బ్యాంక్ ఆర్ క్యాష్.
cash or bank.
900.
So are you clear with this journal entry?
Yes.
Why
very
did we
good.
I know debit accounts payable account and cash discount received, cash bank account, cash or bank account? Cash payable is nothing but then the vendor name. Since we are using the summary account, that's the reason we are updating as a cash payable accounts payable. With the same logic, please help me with the journal entry for customers whenever you are giving a discounts to the customers. Assume that for the same invoice. Help me with the journal entry for whenever you receive it, whenever you are issuing a discount to the offering the discount to the your customers. You can apply the same rule here, nominal rule.
సేమ్ రివర్స్ అంతే.
అది చెప్పు, మెయిన్ అకౌంట్స్ ఏమొస్తాయి? జనరల్ ఎంట్రీ చెప్పు.
జనరల్ ఎంట్రీ చెప్పాలా? ఇది మనం
Cash.
కస్టమర్కి ఇస్తున్నాం కదా.
Cash discount given. Bank account data to accounts payable credit.
As discount given. Why are we debiting here? Since it is in loss to us, we are debiting as per the nominal rule, debit all expenses, and we have to create a separate cash discount account what is the discount amount that you are receiving? For giving 100 rupees. And whenever you receive an amount, cash or
Bank.
bank account, you're receiving cash, right? So you are giving as a 900. And are you going to reduce the balance from accounts receivable? Yes.
Yes, receivable.
Accounts receivable. Thousand. So are you clear with these journal entries?
Fine, fine.
Okay. So if you're clear with these journal entries, uh, while configuring the cash discount, we have to give even these main accounts as well, right? So that's the reason. Now we'll go back to the cash discount page. Let's create a new uh, cash discount. Give me some, let's say, for example, you are eligible for some 15%. Let me make it easy. 50% of 20 days. Percent of 20 days. Yeah. What do you mean by 30% of 20 days? It is nothing but from from the due date, that is 20 days 20 days before. If you are doing the payment, you are eligible for 30% straight away discount. And also there's one more the agreement you have entered is, if you are paying that is before 10 days, then you are eligible for any other discounts. Okay, that we'll discuss later while once we configure. Assume that there are no next best discount. There is only one discount that you have entered, that is 30% of 20 days. And the same, if you remember, while configuring the terms of payment, we have net, current month, current quarter, current week, right? Same logic applies here as well. If you want to give the cutoff date, what is the eligible date that you were supposed to give, that you can give it here. Let's say, uh, take it a simple example, that is net. Net is nothing but the invoice date. Let's say today is the invoice date, that is 8th, and if the due date is 31st, uh, as per the due date, and that is 20 days before, if you're doing the payment, then you are eligible for straight away 30% discount. Okay. Then the discount percentage. So what is the discount percentage? 30, right? Yes, 30 percentage. And 20 days before, is eligible for 20 days before if he is doing the payment for discount. And as I mentioned, you are receiving an income, right? For if you're offering it to customer, then you'll have to give a, what is the main account that we have decided here? Cash discount received. This is for customers. And cash discount given, sorry, cash discount given, this for customers, and cash discount received, this for vendors. So you'll have to give this ledger account here. Cash discount, this for accounts receivable, right? It's already there. Cash discount, sorry,
ఈ అకౌంట్స్ రిసీవబుల్ వచ్చింది, ఇక్కడ పేబుల్ రాదా?
accounts payable ఇక్కడ.
మీ వాయిస్ కట్ అయింది.
Discount create a customer invoice discounts or customer discounts taken. Let's say you're just giving a normal account, that is customer discounts taken. And for accounts payable, cash discount received, that is vendor. Can you see here vendor cash discounts taken? So these two are the main accounts which are going to impact whenever you do the transaction here. Are you clear with this one? So the same this one anyways, this is for the purpose of calculation of the discount, that is current month, current quarter, same logic as per the terms of payment. I will try to post a new transaction here. Accounts payable, invoice journal, AP invoice, click on lines. First we'll create an invoice. Let's say you are doing a transaction with office supplies. Invoice date today, I'm giving it as a today's date. Let's say we'll give it as a 30,000 as a rent expense, and you are eligible for some discounts. Office supplies you are purchasing. Yeah, so by default for this particular vendor, they have given office supplies expense account. Good. So can you see here? Maybe terms of payment, then they gave it as a net 30. So based on that, the due date has been calculated, and the cash discount also they have given. If you want to change, what is the cash discount that we have created? 30%, right? Where is it showing 30%? Yes, 30% of 20 days. Now click on this one. Yeah. Can you see here? Cash discount amount. And what is the wait, can you see here? Net plus 20 days, right? What is the net plus 20 days? Net is the invoice date plus 20 days is at 7/28. What is the actual due date here as per the terms of payment? 8/7. That is August 7th. If you are doing the payment on August 7th, you are supposed to pay entire 30,000. But if you're doing it before, that is 28th July, or on or before 28th July, you'll be getting a discount of 9,000 rupees. Are you clear with this one?
శ్రీనివాస్, దీంట్లో చిన్న కరెక్షన్. ఇప్పుడు క్లయింట్ పే చేస్తాడు. ఓకే.
Yes. No, this is
సపోజ్
for vendor payment.
ఓకే. మనం వెండర్ మనకి ఇన్వాయిస్ వచ్చింది. మనం పేమెంట్ చేయాలా. ఓకే.
Hmm.
మనం ఏందంటే 27th రోజు పేమెంట్ రిలీజ్ చేస్తాం. ఆర్ లెట్స్ అజ్యూమ్ దట్ 28th రోజు పేమెంట్ రిలీజ్ చేస్తాం.
Okay.
కానీ ఇండియా పేమెంట్స్ అంటే ఆ టీఎస్ఓ నెఫ్ట్ చేస్తే 1 సింగిల్ డేలో వెళ్తాయి.
So అవన్నీ నెక్స్ట్. See first basic see
ఆహా!
అది RTS, NEFT అవన్నీ సెకండరీ. Customer vendor supposed to receive payment on 28th. Simple. You do whatever the process or method of payment, that is our internal process. But customer, sorry, vendor has given us when we have entered an agreement on 28th. They have to receive the amount in their bank account.
Okay. So if we say that on 27th, I have made the payment and I'm submitting the remit, ఆ డిస్కౌంట్ వస్తదా రాదా?
On or before 28th.
వాడి అకౌంట్లో 28కి రాలేదు. ఎందుకంటే నేను 27th రోజు రిలీజ్ చేశాను. వాడి అకౌంట్లో 28కి రాలేదు.
అవన్నీ మనకు సంబంధం లేదు.
లేదా?
ఈ ద క్యాష్ డ్యూ డేట్ అంటే మీనింగ్ ఏంటి?
ఈ పర్టిక్యులర్ డేట్‌లో పే చేయాలాడు.
ఆన్ ఆర్ బిఫోర్ డ్యూ డేట్, రైట్?
అవును.
బిఫోర్ డ్యూ డేట్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ నీ నుంచి పేమెంట్ అనేది కాదు. వాడి బ్యాంక్ అకౌంట్‌లోకి వచ్చేదే కదా మన డ్యూ డేట్ అంటే.
ఏలే
దట్ ఈస్
మనము
అవర్ ఇంటర్నల్ హెడేక్. అవును. నువ్వు డిలే చేసావు. నీ బ్యాంక్ ఇష్యూ ఉంది. బ్యాలెన్స్ లేదు. ఏమేం జరిగిందో తెలీదు. అది 1 మంత్ అయినా రాలేదు. మరి ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇఫ్ యూ హావ్ ఎంటర్డ్ అన్ అగ్రీమెంట్ స్టేటింగ్ దట్ ఇఫ్ దే ఆర్ నాట్ రిసీవింగ్ ద పేమెంట్ ఆన్ డ్యూ డేట్ ఆర్ యూ ఆర్ సపోజ్డ్ టు పే సమ్ ఫైన్ ఆర్ పెనాల్టీ, దెన్ యూ హావ్ టు పే. అంతే కదా! నాకేం సంబంధం? నేను చెప్పింది డ్యూ డేట్ నా అకౌంట్‌లోకి రావాలి. అంతే.
హుహు.
నీ
చెప్
ఇంటర్నల్ బ్యాంక్ ఇష్యూస్, నీ బ్యాంక్ ఎన్ఈఎఫ్‌టి చేస్తావా? ఆర్‌టీజీఎస్ చేస్తావా? అది అది నీ ఇష్టం అది. నేనేమన్నాను డ్యూ డేట్ లోపల నాకు గావాలి. అండ్ ఇఫ్ యూ ఆర్ ఎలిజిబుల్, ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు గెట్ దిస్ డిస్కౌంట్ ఆఫ్ 9,000 రూపీస్, ఐ వాంట్ మై అమౌంట్ ఆన్ 28th July. దట్స్ ఆల్. బికాజ్ ఐ యామ్ నాట్ బాదర్డ్ అబౌట్ యువర్ ఇంటర్నల్ ప్రాసెస్, రైట్? ద పేమెంట్ రన్ ఎప్పుడు చేస్తావు? పేమెంట్ రన్ ఫ్రైడే చేస్తావా? వీక్ డే చేస్తావా? వీకెండ్ చేస్తావా? అవన్నీ కాదు. 28th లోపల నాకు రావాలి. అప్పుడు నువ్వు డిస్కౌంట్‌కి ఎలిజిబుల్ అంతే.
అదే పైసలొస్తేనే ఎలిజిబుల్. నువ్వు చేసినా
సీ అదంతా మరి ఇంటర్నల్. అది మీరేమేమి ఇది జస్ట్ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ అంతే. సీ దీస్ ఆర్ ద
కరెక్టే.
ఫ్యూచర్స్ ఆర్
ఎందుకంటే
అవైలబుల్. అవన్నీ సినారియో బేస్డ్. అవన్నీ సినారియో బేస్డ్. వాటెవర్ ద అగ్రీమెంట్ దట్ యూ హావ్ ఎంటర్డ్ విత్ అన్ వెండర్, ఆల్ దోస్ ఆర్ సినారియో బేస్డ్. దట్ కీప్స్ చేంజింగ్. దిస్ ఈస్ జస్ట్ ఎ కాన్ఫిగరేషన్. ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, లెట్స్ సే ఆన్ డైలీ basis, you are receiving some 100 of let's say you are into vendor master data team. Assume that you are in a vendor master data team. Today you have received some 100 vendors, and if you want to just or let's say if you want to configure this 100 vendor details, so what is the process? You'll go to all vendors, right? So while creating the vendors, you are, for the namesake or for the time being, whatever the documents, as per the documents, you will give it as a cash discount. Later all those things are subjective as per the invoice and the uh, agreement that you have entered. These are not mandatory, see, because this is an editable. If you are eligible, you will be getting, or else if you want to change this one, you can change it. This is not a big deal. So if you click on the 4% discount, see, now it is at 1200. So these are not mandatory. If you want, you can change. This is one most important. And one more thing is, let's say for example, we'll create one more that is for, let's say, 20% for 10 days. Yes. So what do you mean by 20% of 10 days? It is nothing but 10 days before if you pay, then you are eligible for 20%. Also, vendor has given you one more option. Let's say you are unable to pay, that is before 10 days. He has offered you one more offer. That is, let's say we'll try to create, let's say 3%. Ritesh, mute లోకి వెళ్తావా?
ఒక్క నిమిషం.
5 days. What do you mean by 3% of 5 days is 3% discount for 5 days. So if you're paying an invoice amount that is before 5 days, or if you're receiving an amount from the customer that is before 5 days, he's or you are eligible for 3% discount. Let me give it as a 3 days here. Sorry, 5 days. Percent is 3. And what is the customer discount? Account discounts taken. No discounts. accounts payable. Let's say this is one which we have given, and as discussed, for we have entered an agreement for next best discount also, right? Let us give that as a 3% one. Can you see here 3% discount for 5 days? Let's say this is for 10 days, right? We'll try to change the invoice due date as a not sorry discount due date as a current month. And what is the discount percentage? And customer discounts taken, vendor discounts taken. Fine. So as per this, you are eligible for two discounts. One is for 10% and one is for 3%. Let's see how does it shows here in simple logic. We'll just try to refresh this one. Okay. Let me delete. Assume that we are receiving an invoice from the uh, same vendor, that is for office supplies. Let's say for 50,000 worth you're supposed to pay to the vendor. All right. So by default, and we have entered an agreement with this particular vendor for 20% discount for 10 days. So this is the first, this first discount. So what is how much you are eligible? Invoice amount is 50,000, and if you pay, and one more thing, can you see here? What is it we have given? Current month plus 10 days, right? What do you mean by current month plus 10 days? Invoice due date is as per the invoice is on today's date. What is the current month? July. July plus 10 days. That is August 10th is the cash discount date. Don't get confusion. Cash discount date is different from the terms of the payment. So you now you will have an doubt here. The due date itself, if it is 7th August, but cash discount date is 10th August. So you can change it accordingly. So this is not mandatory. Just for your understanding, let's say for example, this is a net 45 days. Yeah, let's say this is a due date here, that is August 22. This is an agreement that you have entered, that is 45 days from the date of invoice, but you are eligible for discount, that is cash discount date is August 10th. You're eligible for 5,000, right? Let's say you are unable to pay, that is 10 days before, and you have also entered an agreement. What is the next one? 3%, that is 5 days, right? If you are paying it 5 days before, you were still allowed to give some 3%. Straight away from 20% it came down to, yeah. So if you want to see what is the next eligible discounts, it should show here. I'm not sure why is it not showing here. Yes, can you see here? If you refresh here, what is the first which we'll have to configure here? 3% discount, what is it we have given here? 5 days, 20% for 10 days. Okay, here also we have to give, right? That is current month. So as you only one due date here. Let me just save this and come back. Let me quickly see what is the cash discount that is we have created. Yeah, 20% 10 days discount current month. All these are correct here. And what is the 3% 5 days? Fine. Let's say we'll try to create a new invoice. It is taking some time to load here. Yes. Now we'll select the cash discount amount. Okay, offset account. Let's say we are doing an advertisement expense payment. Fine. %, 10 days, right? Okay, there's a problem with the dimension value here. Take the normal rent only. %, that is 10 days, right? Yeah. So as per the agreement, if you are paying that is 10 days before, you are eligible for 20%. On 20, the 30,000, what is it? 20%, 6,000. What is the next discount applicable? Okay, it's not. I mean, by default, it has to. It should show. Yeah, there's one more discount, but I'm not sure why it is not showing. Here, you will get the one more discount, that is 3% 5 days, right? 3% 5 days. What is the 3% 5 days here? Here it will show the due date as a, here in this. Let's say in the here one more line will be added here. That is here 5% amount will be shown. That you can will try it later, but by default it will show two discounts dates here. So there is nothing wrong here. Whatever the configuration we have given, everything is correct. Because I have even tried. If you see the previous transactions also, it has posted. So like this, you can give multiple such discounts days, 3 days before, 2 days before, 1 day before. Like this, there are a lot of such discounts you can give. So are you clear with this one?
Yes, yes.
Yes, Guru.
Yeah, we'll see what is the error here, because it is not even throwing an error also for me. By default it is showing as a two discounts. Even these two discounts in general, it will not show this one. Only one discount it is supposed to show here. So you can check from your end as well. We'll see in the next class. But that is all about the cash discounts.